anyway. Well, fuck you. I don't have 15 secretaries. I have to do this shit myself. We had TV written 3 days ago, like you ought to. It just lying about guys that were promised that weren't coming, not wanting us to do business. I could go on and on. That could be a whole nother videotape. But John Laurinaitis, the guy who signed the wrong one-legged man, the guy who basically has plummeted the developmental program into the sewer, the guy who is a laughingstock as far as a talent relations administrator, who is there because Stephanie likes him, because he says yes to anything related to Stephanie. Yeah, that was the beginning and the end of the OVW-WWE relationship.
All right, it's time for a game. It's the shit list, the Jim Cornette shit list. I'm gonna go through names.
That was a great song, by the way. Pillman used the song Shit List in ECW. I do know that much.
Was it a country song?
No, you've never heard that? You made my shit list. Yeah,
No.
Yeah, it's all right anyway. Somebody knows it, I'm sure.
You got it? Okay. So I'm going to present you with a name. If they're on the shit list, they go on the board. If not, I'll toss it aside if they're irrelevant. Then once we get the handful of names here, you can rank them 1 through 5.
Okay.
You have a very lengthy shit list. You claim last time we were together that it's gotten shorter. I doubt that after the last 4.5 hours
Well,
together.
people might be shitty with me, but I don't really care about some people anymore. I just decided as I get older, I'm not going to tolerate bullshit, and I'm going to say what I fucking think, because fuck it.
Certainly we can get 5 names, but let's fill this side here. Vince McMahon.
Well, he'd be on it.
He'd be on the shit list.
Vince McMahon never did anything to me personally. It's just all the minions and stooges that he hired that did perpetrate shit, and he allowed them to get away with it.
Well, that qualifies.
Therefore,
Eric Bischoff.
I'm really ambivalent about Bischoff one way or the other.
Very good.
You know.
Very good. Mark Madden.
Well, we'll put him over here because I'm not sure if he's 2 or 3.
Okay. That didn't take long. Wade Keller.
Let's put him on standby.
Because we're not sure if we're going to use him.
I'm not even sure now if he makes the top 5.
Okay. Hardcore wrestling.
Well, now that's not really a person
I didn't say
or a
people.
place. It's more of a thing. Okay, well,
that's on the shit list, though.
let's stick it up there on standby. Stick it up there on standby. This thing's gonna fall over pretty soon. Spared no expense on this fucking set here.
You got to see our budget. New York.
Oh, no, you know, no, with all these other competition, I still don't understand the traffic or the smog or the fact that the pedestrians won't get the fuck out of the way of a moving car, but nah. Just
Really? Wow. That one is shocking to me. I thought that would have had the top spot. Dairy Queen.
I love Dairy Queen. Now, if you made it Dairy Queen in Hyden, Kentucky after a really lousy spot show with a rude window person, but otherwise, I'm a Dairy Queen fan. Oh, you got to stick him over there. Yeah, you got to stick him over there.
You notice I'm leaving a lot of room because I figure we're gonna. Okay, Bubba the Love Sponge.
Actually, no, I want to put him on my hit list because after he played part of my Who Slammin' Who podcast on his satellite radio show, not only did he not refute any of the points I made about how shitty he and the TNA show was, but also I got 30,000 more hits and set a record downloads the following week. So actually, I need to send Bubba a Christmas card.
Okay.
Yeah, I went over 100,000 for the first time.
Joey Styles.
You know, once again, Styles' momentary fucking pain in the ass during the middle of the election when we're trying to take a step. Like, America was like wrestling. We were trying to take a step into the 21st century, but a bunch of fucking people who didn't really see that were trying to hold us back. Joey Styles was just proposing their point of view, but I don't have anything against the guy as a person. He was just such an easy target because, you know, when you get the conservative Christian crackpots going, you really don't have much trouble taking the piss out of us, as Adrian Street used to say.
Paul Heyman.
I don't know whether he can go on my shit list because this has to be reserved for people that I have no respect for in any way, shape, or form. And while Paul's and I's personal business dealings have been rather fucking checkered, at the same time, I can go ahead and say that he does know what he's doing, that he was a good booker, etc., etc. This is for pure shit.
And
I will live. By the way, I told Dutch Mantel to put this in his book. I don't know if he did or not, because Dutch, you haven't sent me the free one yet. I sent you my address. I will live. I'm making it a point. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm on my low-carb diet and trying to stay away from sugar, etc., because I want to live to stand over and piss upon Vince Russo's grave. For the fans that he's deprived of seeing fucking great wrestling, for the fucking wrestlers whose careers he's shortened, for the fucking people that make their living in the wrestling business who have had elevated blood pressure or fucking lowered fucking income because of his fucking foolishness. Vince, one of these days, I'm making it a mission now in my life. You're gonna go before me. If I have to make it to 93 just so I can stand there and take a whiz on your fucking headstone, pal, fuck you.
well, it's quite an accomplishment to get him off the Bob Evans turkey gravy.
Exactly.
You're pretty important.
It's got chunks of sausage.
Santino.
I could go on in the whole story, but no, actually I should send him a Christmas card too, because they were pushing my buttons for a year looking for a fucking reason. And when I've smacked him 17 times, it gave him the reason. And immediately my blood pressure did get better, so no, I have no problems.
Kevin Dunn.
Wow. See who else we come up with. We're saving it over there.
Do you have a quick Kevin Dunn impersonation you'd like to do? A few people have done it on Ken.
Yes, sir. And we're not wrestling. And I don't know why you think we're wrestling. Just because we're wrestlers in wrestling boots and wrestling tights in a wrestling ring.
Fuck you.
Jim Hurd.
Oh boy, Jiminy Pete. I can tell you already, just because he's just, he's a fucking little slime, but just because he's more inoffensive, we gotta stick at it. God damn!
Yeah, it's gonna fill up. ICP.
You know what? That whole thing was blown up out of proportion. Bruce Pritchard showed me a video. I'd never heard of these fucking people. I only listen to music, so why should I have heard of these people? In like 1997, he shows me a videotape of the Japanese hardcore IWA, which I don't watch anyway, but there's Terry Funk and there's Cactus Jack but these fucking people, whoever the fuck they are in their real lives, are doing the commentary. They gave everybody phony names and they're making a joke out of the wrestling business. And Bruce just thought it was hilarious because he likes funny, silly shit. I didn't think it was fucking funny. When I found out that the Insane Clown Posse were fucking musicians, if I can use that term loosely, then I thought, look, I don't come and fucking make fun of music. Why are you making fun of my business? I was there the night that Victor Quinones, the promoter, and Cactus Jack walked up to him and said, "Where's our check for that tape that you sold?" And to their credit, they cut him a fucking check right on the fucking spot, but I think they make fun of the business. It's that hardcore bullshit. I've seen videotapes of these juggernauts or juggalos or whatever in a mud field, fucking watching this shit where they fucking, I don't know, it's like a David Letterman stupid pet trick, but it's humans. I don't get the whole fucking thing. Stay out of my business, I'll stay out of your business.
They're not on the show.
But nah, they're not that important.
Very good. Hulk Hogan.
No, once again, no. I mean, it's sad now that the guy who, except for Austin and Rock, has set more records, made more money, got to be a bigger celebrity, etc. in our business now because of, family situations, divorces and whatever, has to fucking go out there and do that at 60 years old with artificial body parts, trying to convince people that he's going to get a fucking company over when he's never been a booker and he's never gotten a company over. He's been a star. Should have stuck with it.
Rap music.
Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. There we go. It's got to be way up there.
7 Up.
Not in this company. Although 7-Up does have an aftertaste that Sprite, does not have.
I bet. John's ending.
No.
Okay,
Not even. We don't have any
let's rank these guys now. Now the work begins.
Oh, Jesus. Well, actually, you know what? Okay, what I said about it, I wasn't going to put Paulie up there because I can respect him for some things he's done. Vince McMahon has been, I'll take the cheap shit off. Vince McMahon has been very successful, even though he allowed his minions to fuck me around.
Very good.
I can't do it. hardcore wrestling is more of a, not a person or a thing, is more of a fucking, what's the word I'm searching for? An
Concept.
entity, concept. I think we gotta go with people who just have no redeeming value whatsoever. 2, 3, 4, oh shit, wait.
Who do you got? You got another idea? You want to add
John
one?
Laurinaitis.
John Laurinaitis? You want to add one? Get a pen. Let's add.
Once again, not even important
Not
enough.
important enough.
I got to say we're gonna have to throw Wade off the
Okay.
fucking page, because I think right here, if you want to go in this direction right here, you have the 5 worst enemies of the professional wrestling business and the professional wrestling fan, and between the 5 of them, they ain't worth goddamn shit. So, as my mother used to say, they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. They don't have any talent, or haven't had any talent for anything related to professional wrestling. No redeeming quality. Can anybody in this room, I'm holding it up, name something in professional wrestling that any of these people have done well? Great angle, great promo, great performance, great something. The camera's not on you. You're nameless, you're faceless. Give me anything that any of these people have done.
Oklahoma.
Great. I said great.
Stay employed.
Yeah.
A lot of people without jobs. Stay employed.
That's an art right there.
Stay employed.
Sold a lot of pizza.
Made money.
Heavyweight champion.
Got hired. Initially made that transition from...
Somebody said he had a heart attack. I find that hard to believe. You'd had to have found a heart.
Well, that's
There
it.
you
That's the
go.
shit list. That's the shit list. Might not be a bad idea for a column if you ever wanted to write for USA Today or New York Times.
Do you think if I wanted to dwell on these people all the fucking time, see, you just do this to stir me up. If I wanted to dwell on these people all the time, I'd need goddamn be hospitalized.
Well, you can critique things in society, politics, healthcare plans.
But now, why didn't you have a positive top 5? Why didn't you have Jim Cornette's top 5 of all time, the Bobby Heenans or the Mick Foleys or the fucking Ric Flairs or the fucking Christine Jarrett's or
Just
fucking
talked
Bill
about
Wattses or all the people that I admire and like and that have done things for me and other people and the rest, but no, you have to go for that seamy underbelly of the wrestling business.
You had 4 hours to talk about all the wonderful things.
Well, you
in
rushed me
wrestling.
through everything.
Wait till the next 4. You think this was bad?
You rushed me right through. I
Good
couldn't
stuff.
go into any detail.
TNA. We'll start it with...
Wait a minute. Why would it be?
With a video.
Okay.
Jimmy Cornette, the Bulldozer, coming at you live from the OffTheMarkShow.com studios, Daddy. What I want to know is, there was a point in time where you made your long-awaited, epic TNA debut, and it was one for the ages. Because I remember what happened. You got a long set of yourself, sir, and the king went the crowd. I want to know, how tough was it for you to walk back to the locker room? Because I know you just came back from surgery. And also, was it a tad embarrassing for you, sir?
Well, actually, it wasn't as tough for me to walk back as it was to walk down that ramp. Here's the deal. I just had the knee surgery, and I was still ACL tied up and everything. I was still walking with a cane, and I debuted in June of '06, and it was 150 degrees in the impact zone. And all day I'd been doing the Charlie Chaplin thing, spinning the cane around, you know. So I decided as I go out on the stage and I get a good pop, I'm gonna milk it, and I'm doing this, but my hand is covered with sweat. The foam thing on the cane is sweaty, and it just straight out. And I expected to look over and see some old woman, you know. Like, I said, okay, now I got to go down the ramp, right? And everybody backstage is like, is he gonna go? Is he? And I just, whoops, okay. So very flat-footed. I don't need no stinging cane. Get down there, cut the promo, and fucking then get out of the ring and walk back flat. It was a good promo. I wasn't embarrassed. I was tickled by it, you know, more than anything. And actually, some people even thought that I meant to do it, and I let them believe that for a while.
Kyle Sands, did you ever have a bowel movement at the TNA Impact Zone?
What, in the bathroom, or you mean just?
I take it that's what he wants to know.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I used to go to the bathroom as often as possible so that I fucking calm myself down from choking Russo or fucking walking out, getting the car and leaving.
Greg Pike, do you think TNA will ever charge admission for fans to get into TNA Impact Zone?
No, but they are planning on charging for you to get out. So,
Paul Miller, courtesy of F4W Online, with Jerry Jarrett having done so well as a booker in Memphis. Why do you think that didn't translate into more success with TNA?
well, as I know, or as I'm aware, Jerry only wrote the first, 15, 20 shows.
wasn't much.
Jerry was not the booker there very long. And also, did you see anything wrong when Jerry Jarrett left the company? Could you sense something was wrong? I wasn't even there. And to be quite honest, did you ever see Dixie Carter get lost while she was wandering around backstage? No, but I hoped on several
That's from
occasions.
Cornette fan, courtesy of Classics.
But no, here's the thing with Jerry Jarrett and TNA. He started the thing as the pay-per-view, Wednesday night pay-per-view, and then they got television, and then blah blah blah. But he was only in the first 6 months or so, and then the direction took a different turn. So I don't. What was the second part of that? I don't really. And I wasn't around at that point. To be honest, I never watched TNA wrestling until, I'm going to say, 4 weeks before I debuted in June of '06, because I still WWE and me got sideways in July of '05, but I still had an ownership interest in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and so I was still making money off of them. Plus, I was really pissed off at wrestling, and besides Ring of Honor and reunions with the Midnight Express, I wouldn't really want to do anything. And I was waiting on to clear up the OVW TV rights and get a check, so I didn't want to fucking jack that around too much. So basically, I had never watched any TNA because I knew that Vince Russo was involved in it. And I thought there's no reason for me to make myself mad in my own home. And then when he was gone, I just was in the habit of not watching it, so I didn't. But Dutch Mantell had called me a number of occasions. I said, when I get all this straightened out and I get my knee surgery, finally time was right. So then I was like, oh shit, I better start watching this stuff because I don't know what's going on. And so I watched it, and I liked the show, and I thought it had a lot of potential, and there was guys there, boom, boom, boom. And then in, I guess it was late September, Dutch calls and says, well, we made some changes in the creative team. I said, oh, great, good, what? Well, we fired everybody but me and Jeff. I said, well, that's probably a step in the right direction. He said, and we hired one guy. I said, who's that? He said, Vince Russo. What? Vince Russo. Why? He can't explain it. Nobody said, that's, by the way, I've asked so many people that have been around so much longer than I, why? Nobody can explain it. Nobody knows. Jeff Jarrett wanted him there. So I said, have Jeff call me. So Jeff called me. I said, this won't work. I don't know why. I'm speechless. I'll just give it a chance. All right, I didn't want to do it on the phone. So I went down the next taping and sat down with Jeff and Dutch and gave my notice. I said, it's going to detract from business. I can't be around this fucking guy. He'll kill everything he touches. I don't want to be involved in it. Let one of your let Abyss, it was a heel in, lay me out, boom, I'll be done. And Jeff basically said, oh, if you no-show, or if you don't come, you're no-showing, I won't accept your notice. Tried it, blah, 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 blah. So that's what happened.
Halloween Havoc 89, courtesy of Wrestling Classics, says, what is the best part of the new TNA of 2010? What is the worst part of the new TNA of 2010? Got a couple hours. What would you like to see show up, who would you like to see show up in TNA that is on the WWE roster?
Boy. The worst part of the new TNA of 2010, everything. The best part of the new TNA of 2010, nothing. Here's why. I don't even care if anybody else shows up in TNA, it's on the WWE roster. It doesn't make a fuck to me. Here's the problem. The problem is, to me, they had a chance to say, okay, we're going to make a statement. We're going to be a new promotion for the 21st century. We're going to fight to get the fucking fans back from the UFC and MMA. We're going to fucking take these guys that we've got on our roster that are young, and we're going to push them, and we're going to get them over, and we're going to use them, the bodies of the older stars to do that while they still are capable. They've got a crew of main eventers that needs to be packed in ice after every performance. I've been saying that to them for a year. Kurt Angle is a machine. He's incredible, but the injuries that he's had, he doesn't need to be wrestling 30-minute matches every night carrying a company on his back. I wanted to see him push the young guys. I wanted to see him do a more serious style. I wanted to see him do an alternative to Vince McMahon. a more credible, logical style, but of course that means getting rid of fucking Vince Russo. And they get rid of everybody but Vince Russo, and I hate to keep harping on this. There they come down now from the heavens to strike me down.
He's got a direct
But the
line.
problem is Vince Russo's incapable of writing anything that approximates sports. He's incapable of writing anything that anybody can believe. But if they had done that, if every restaurant in the world sold hamburgers, why would you want to open up a restaurant selling hamburgers? You want to open up a restaurant selling chicken. And with Vince selling at least having the best marketing on hamburgers, it may not be the best hamburgers, but McDonald's sells the most hamburgers. They ain't the best, but they sell a lot of them. With Vince doing that, open up a chicken restaurant. Let's have some realistic, credible, sports-based presentation to our wrestling. Let's not be so fucking WWE light and do shit with a less of a budget and less talented people involved in the writing of the thing and copy WWE. Let's do something completely different. So when I saw January 4th, it made me glad that I was gone, because let's face it, if I hadn't been fired or released or terminated or whatever you want to call it in September, I would have been gone in October of my own volition. As soon as I figured out that not only are we never getting rid of Russo, but now we're having these other guys come in and put another company out of business 10 years ago. And they're 10 years older. And it's more of the fucking same. Hogan and Bischoff on the January 4th show, when they're in the ring, it's going to be great. It's going to be, they look like they were trying to talk themselves into it. They look like two quasi-celebrities on a fucking fundraising telethon for a goddamn hurricane disaster. I expect to see Hogan say George Bush doesn't like black people. It was fucking embarrassing. And over on the other channel, you got Vince McMahon and Bret Hart. Bret Hart was a fucking legend. Vince McMahon is the boss, but it's a bunch of gray-haired guys yelling at each other about shit that happened 15 years ago. The TNA program made all of their young guys like Beer Money, Matt Morgan, Hernandez, etc. meaningless in favor of guys that have had their best years behind them. Maybe they've done a lot in the business before, but goddamn, it's time to move on. And so the answer is blah. No, TNA had a chance to do something and they fumbled the fucking ball and they ain't gonna get it back.
Well, that answers Todd Packard's question.
Thank you, Todd.
The January 4th show. Clips courtesy of Figure 4. Ask him if the only reason he still slags TNA off is so he can fit the phrase "shine a turd." It's one of his sentences.
Well, it's the phrase "you can't polish a turd." However, after watching TNA of late, I will say that they've increased. As a matter of fact, they bought a Times Square billboard. They hired Hulk Hogan for untold hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, and Eric Bischoff and all these other guys. And they've gone all the way from a 1 to a 1.2 or 3. Imagine that. I said recently, if a lot of people are looking at a turd, does it still stink?
Jay Zaretsky from Ontario asked, when TNA is out of business, maybe and hopefully by the time this DVD comes out, will you allow yourself to be interviewed for the inevitable rise and fall of TNA DVD?
Now I have a feeling that there'll be enough video evidence out there. You know, here's the thing. I don't want TNA to fail. I wanted TNA to succeed. That's why I went to work there, because Vince McMahon cannot be allowed to have a monopoly on the professional wrestling business. And then he's embarrassed to admit he's even in the pro wrestling business, so he calls it a monopoly on the sports entertainment business. For the sake of the wrestlers, for the sake of the fans, for the sake of everybody who makes a living in this business, except the billionaire who don't need any more money, you can't be allowed to have a monopoly. There always has to be a place to go, another choice, an alternative. I wanted TNA to be that because it seemed like they had the best advantage toward doing that. They had national television, they had monthly pay-per-view, they had a good crew. You could always have better talent, but they had a good crew. They had everything they needed except a direction and a way to implement that made them stand apart from the WWE, and a guy who respected the business ultimately writing the show. And I kept hanging around waiting and waiting and waiting. Sooner or later, somebody's going to smarten up and see this. People laugh at him behind his back in the production meeting. Every time that they read his fucking drivel that he writes, eyes roll on the production crew, from the talent side, from the agents. And it just never got any better. And I'm gobsmacked. I don't know how he does it. Nobody I can ask that have been in the business 20 years knows how he does it. But TNA could have been the alternative to Vince, and now, boy, you know, when on January 4th, when they cut to that crowd shot of Dixie Carter, I figure you look at the phrase buyer's remorse in the dictionary, you have to see her picture. Because what the fuck is she? It's just, yeah. Dutch like this. I said one time, I told Dutch Mantel, I said, you know what? I said, the people that know how don't have the money, and the people that have the money don't have a fucking clue how. And unfortunately, I guess it's that way with everything.
Ring of Honor. This would be an 8-hour release if we did 4 hours on wrestling and 4 hours or so on this. Well,
Mr. Cornette, you are with Ring of Honor now, but you had another tenure with Ring of Honor, and during that time period, there was one of the greatest feuds on the indies. It was ROH versus CZW. Take us behind the locker room. Take us to the booking meetings. How did that whole thing play out? Was there any heat between the boys? Was John Zandig the douche I always read that he is? Come on, tell us about that feud. The internet wants to know.
Well, I wasn't in on any of the booking meetings. At the time, Gabe Sapolsky was the booker in Ring of Honor. And he said, well, we're thinking about doing this thing. And basically, I mean, I almost feel like I'm, you know, my God, everybody, you can't expose the wrestling business anymore. But there was such a great passion and emotion in the Ring of Honor and Combat Zone Wrestling thing that I almost feel like I'm, you know, telling kids there was no Santa Claus, say there wasn't really any unprofessional conduct. But at the same time, there was a lot of shooting going on. Because I think that's why it got over, because the fans, remember what I said, Jared always said, you know, when he had Lawler and Dundee working a program with each other, the fans knew Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee didn't like each other because they told the fans, whether they were partners, both baby faces, one of them's a heel, fight each other, whatever, they told the fans at the arena, they told the fans at the convenience store after the matches, you know, they didn't like each other. And Jarrett used that, and they sold out year after year when he put them against each other because the fans knew there was an element there, they were going to beat the piss out of each other. I think hardcore wrestling is the most ridiculous, fucking inane, stupid thing that I've ever seen in my life. And I talked about ECW, you know, they only scratched the surface. This Combat Zone Wrestling bullshit, the broken light tubes, the fluorescent light tubes, the fucking barbed wire, the staple gun, I mean, just anything about it. I think it's fucking ridiculous. I think anybody that perpetrates it has to have their head examined. I think anybody that promotes it ought to be put in fucking jail. That Ian Rotten in the state of Kentucky. Now, the state of Kentucky used to have one of the easiest athletic commissions in the world to get along with. $5 license and fucking have a promoter's license, they wouldn't even send an inspector. Because of Ian Rotten and his hardcore wrestling, getting on the news, people being splattered with blood, guy almost bled to death because he got punctured by a fucking fluorescent light tube, was taken to the hospital, hardcore wrestling invades state. All of a sudden now there's inspectors and there's rules and regulations. You can't have any blood, even accidental blood. Match must end immediately. You'll lose your promoter's license. The licenses cost a fortune more. We immuned the people to simple angles that they could fucking believe that a guy could work and you could still believe he was hurt. It doesn't take any talent to take blunt instruments and bash each other over the fucking head for real in front of 200 people at a goddamn parking lot of a fucking bowling alley for $20 if you get paid at all. It made the fucking business look bad. It made the boys... When I saw the wrestler, I went into a 3-day depression. Because here are people who may not know anything about professional wrestling for the last 20 years since Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania, or I remember Ric Flair or whatever. And now they're thinking, oh my God, that's what happened to all those guys. And now professional wrestling is in a goddamn fucking VFW hall and all the people. I don't even take independent bookings. Because I'm afraid if I go to a fucking show that there's only 200 people at, and I've got my gimmick table out, people look at me and say, oh, now he needs the money too. Fuck, it's fucking embarrassing. It's embarrassing that the average person would say, oh, he would hear that somebody's being stapled with a fucking staple gun or ripped up with broken glass or doing this fucking foolishness. It takes no talent. It takes no art. The people that fucking go and pay to see it, I have serious doubts about their fucking mental capacity, that you would think that's fucking entertainment, which taxes the very definition of the word. And the whole thing is fucking ridiculous. And it's, what if you were a basketball fan and all your life you loved basketball? You got a tickle out of the Harlem Globetrotters, but I mean, at least it was still a fucking athletic fucking show. But mostly you like the Boston Celtics or the goddamn whatever the fuck. And all of a sudden they come up with new rules for basketball. Like I'm sure Vince Russo would like to write. Where you've got to make the inbounds pass through across a flaming table. And if you got to shoot a free throw, you got to shoot it over a fucking 3 coils of barbed wire. And there's a guy on the fucking top of the goddamn basket that's going to fucking try to spear the ball and puncture it and throw a spear at you and whatever the fuck. People, what the fuck is this? Why would anybody want to be involved in this? Why the fuck would anybody want to be involved in a situation where they're going to be ripped up with barbed wire, bashed with fucking light tubes, cut with broken glass, snapped with mouse traps, and hit with a fucking staple gun? I made $15,000 for fucking WrestleMania. I took one bump and it was a shitty one because Luger threw a shitty punch. I made $10,000 for jumping off that fucking scaffold and regretted that. And somebody's going to do that shit to themselves for $20 because, like Ian Rotten, they have some kind of inordinate need to be somebody in front of a few fucking deluded fucking delinquent fucking people at a goddamn bowling alley in fucking West Fuckwad, Indiana. It just makes everybody in our business look like fucking morons. And that's what I conveyed in the Ring of Honor fucking CZW angle and meant every fucking word of it, and people loved it because they bought it because they knew it was real.
Very good, Zach.
But everybody involved was professional. Even though Zandig couldn't say Suey if the Hogs had him, I blistered him on the fucking promo. But how can you defend the indefensible?
Zach Lambert, when you first made an appearance in Ring of Honor back in 2003, did you think it would grow into the company it is today?
I did not. I was hoping so, but to be honest, I thought it was a good independent show, and I thought this is what's going to be, a good independent show. But now that's why I've always been a fan of theirs. I always got along well with Kerry. I've never had any problems with Gabe. Like Adam Pearce, the booker, all the people that work there, the guys, they always work hard. That's why I'm there now. But that's why I'm saying, I guess I've always felt there's needed to be an alternative. I was hoping TNA would be that because they were best equipped financially, but they're not going to be. So, the next day after the TNA thing happened, Kerry called me and they'd gotten the television, they'd gone through the pay-per-view thing. I think they put the cart before the horse. I think it's hard to have pay-per-view before you have television. TNA found that out. But I would have never dreamed they'd be on national television on HDNet, 7 years later. And I never dreamed they'd still be a high-profile company and actually being more high-profile with big shows in New York and etc. So I'm happy, but I didn't think that at the time.
Ring of Honor, it's finally come to the big time. It's on HDNet. But Jimmy, I've got to be honest, I really liked Ring of Honor back in the day. The likes of Loki, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Spanky. I know you don't like the name Spanky, but hey, Spanky, it's kind of funny. Anyway, I want to know, what did you think about Ring of Honor then versus now? And also, do you have any booking power now, or are you strictly an on-air talent, per se?
Per se. I like the way you per se. Adam Pearce is the booker, but I obviously can make suggestions, and that's what my job is. Executive producer can be anything, and whether it's open up a new market for live events, or if I've got a connection to find a sponsorship, or somebody to help promote, or hey, I think we could do this on television. They're listening and they're letting me do that because I want the company to succeed. Not doing it for the money at this point. I'm doing it because I want there to be an alternative. I know everybody when Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels were in Ring of Honor. I did too. I thought they were great. But if you notice, you never get a new star over until the old star leaves. So when they went on their way, then along came the Briscoes and Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. And everybody, wow, these guys. Well, now Bryan and Nigel have left. Thank God Briscoes are around. But here comes Austin Aries and Tyler Black. Tyler Black's 23 years old. Fuck, he's hardly been able to legally vote for fucking 2 years. I think he's going to be a star. I think Roderick Strong. I don't want to leave anybody out. I want to say a lot of names, but Brent Albright I've always been a big fan of. Daivari just started. Sean Daivari just started the last TV tapings. He was very underutilized in a variety of ways. You can never get a big star over until the previous star leaves. Jackie Fargo had to hand the torch to Jerry Lawler. Bruno Sammartino had to pass it off to, well, he didn't pass it to Bob Backlund. But you know what I'm saying. So basically, guys are always going to move. They're always going to go on to another job, or bigger and better, or sometimes smaller and lesser. But ultimately, I think Ring of Honor has proven that they are a new style of wrestling. They let the wrestlers do their shit, and they let the fans decide who they like, and then we go from there. And I want to keep doing that. I want to steal some of the UFC fans. I want to steal some of the MMA fans. I want to take the young 20-something, maybe 30-something guys that don't have the big national names, but they got hunger and they got talent, and I want to try to help create a framework where wrestling, I want to do pro wrestling as it was done in the 80s with guys that were born in the 80s. Imagine that. Treat it seriously, be logical, let the guys go out and be themselves and get over, sell the guys based on their personalities and not a bunch of fucking hokey gimmicks, and don't insult people's attention or insult people's intelligence and just start slapping them in the face that we're phony, it's all a show, fucking cartoon. No. Why do you think they like UFC? It's real, yes, but it's also because we understand it. I know this guy, I know that guy, I know why they're going to fight, let's see who's going to win. That's the basis of pro wrestling. So anyway.
All right, another video. Stephen M.
This is going to take a long
Jersey.
fucking time, ain't it?
Hello, Mr. Cornette, James E. Cornette, Jim Cornette, whichever you prefer to be called. I'm a big fan of you, and I'm glad that you have come back to the Ring of Honor crew. I actually have two questions for you. If you can't answer both, that's perfectly fine. The first one I'd like to say is that we all know John Cena is the main guy in WWE. But who in ROH do you think could be the next John Cena and why? And I guess the other question would be is that who in WWE do you feel is not getting the deserving push that they should and why?
Okay, well, first of all, I would never say somebody else is going to be the next John Cena. I know what he's asking. Who's going to be the next big star? Because to me, everybody ought to be individuals. The reason why wrestlers don't get over better than they do now these days is because they got writers putting words in their mouth. They can't get themselves over. I think Tyler Black is a superstar waiting to happen, but he's too young right now. He needs more seasoning. He needs more time. But you get a 27, 28-year-old Tyler Black, athletically as good as he is, but then getting this up here, and I think you got a superstar. The Briscoes as a tag team are unique. I love their promos, which everybody's, oh, the Briscoes can't talk. No, the Briscoes are the most legitimate, real, credible promo in professional wrestling today because they sound they talk, they do their promo exactly like they talk. You can't tell the difference between on and off camera, and they're naturals. So I love that, and they're unique once again. So, and second, what was the second part of his question?
Was it stars in?
It was
underutilized in WWE.
Underutilized in WWE. I don't want to call any names right now because that would stooge me that I'd never watch the fucking TV show because it gives me gas. But all the guys that were in OVW developmental from 2002 until 2005. Just write all their names down.
Very good. Mark Berry, will Ring of Honor ever start doing house shows in the South? I think that's St. Louis, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta would be great stops for you guys.
Bada bing, Charlotte, North Carolina. April the 3rd, you may be watching this after that, but the Big Bang takes place April 3rd, and the reason why that we chose Charlotte, North Carolina, just an example, all the big-time independent shows in the Carolinas, which was a rich wrestling market over the past several years that have drawn big crowds, have been Legends-based shows. We think that the fans that loved wrestling in the Carolinas, we were predisposed to like wrestling, and the new fans that like wrestling and haven't seen anything that they like lately, all of them will like Ring of Honor. The Big Bang, it all begins again. Pro wrestling explodes into the 21st century. After Charlotte, we got our eyes, we're doing the paperwork to get promoters' licenses in Kentucky. WrestleMania next year is going to be taking place in Atlanta, and Ring of Honor sort of has a little tradition. I think a lot of those towns, we want to open up more live markets. I've talked to a lot of people who have experience promoting local wrestling shows and have done very well with it, and we're going to start using those people to help us. And so the South and the Midwest and all parts in between. is on the roster.
Very good. Mark O'Connell, what are your thoughts on Ring of Honor suing Ric Flair?
Well, and you phrased it nicer than this guy up here did, but it's the same question. You know, I wasn't here. That was before I started. I'm not sure what the situation was. Basically, I understand that Rick was paid money in advance to make appearances, that then once that Vince found out that Ring of Honor was on television, you may remember Vince McMahon doesn't have a fucking clue of what's going on in the professional wrestling business anywhere other than his own company. And then he said, well, I don't think you got to be doing the TV, and Rick didn't do the TV, and apparently the money didn't get paid back. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I like Kerry Silk, and he's a friend of mine. I believe what he says, but Ric Flair has helped me a lot in my career, gave me my first booking job, recommended me for the highest paying job I ever had, which was not, by the way, working for Vince McMahon. So I don't want to get in the middle of them, but I think it's a shame that a guy with the reputation and just the man, Ric Flair, is having problems with wrestling promoters when probably I would say that for 20 years, if you were a wrestling promoter, the most dependable thing that you could hear, the best thing you could hear on your card was, I got Ric Flair, because you knew he was going to be there, you knew he was going to tear the house down, you knew he was going to sell some tickets. Now shit's going sideways, and I hate to see it.
Volume 1 is in the
Volume
books.
1. And I was being brief, folks. I'm sorry.